All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're taking a look at a really important economic health check by digging into the index of 8 core industries. This report gives us a fantastic early signal about the health of the wider industrial sector. Okay, so first things first, what exactly is this index of 8 core industries, or ICI? Well, think of it as a monthly scorecard. It tracks the output of 8 absolutely fundamental sectors, kind of like the bedrock of the entire economy. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Not all these industries are created equal. As you can see, refinery products and electricity are the real heavyweights here. Together, they make up almost half the entire index. So you can imagine, a little wobble in either of those two can really shake up the final number. So here's our game plan. We'll start with that big headline number. Then we'll see which industries were the star performers and which ones were under a bit of pressure. And finally, we'll piece it all together to understand the big picture. All right, let's kick things off with the one number from this November report that everyone's talking about. And there it is, a plus 1.8%. That's the provisional growth for these core industries compared to the same time last year. Now, it's a positive number for sure, but as you're about to see, there's a whole lot more going on beneath the surface. And to really get what that 1.8% means, you've got to see where we just came from. Just a month before, in October, the index actually shrank by a tiny bit. So bouncing back from negative into positive territory, well, that's a pretty big deal. Okay, so we're back in the black. But why? What were the real engines of growth this month? Let's dig in. Whoa, check this out. One industry just went stratospheric. Cement production jumped by a massive 14.5%. A number that big points to some serious activity in things like construction and infrastructure. And you know what? Cement wasn't flying solo here. Not at all. Steel also had a really solid month, up over 6%, and fertilizers were right there with a strong showing too. These were the top 3 powerhouses for November. And then you've got coal, also in the green, with a more modest 2.1% bump. So there you have it, our 4 winners for the month, the sectors that did the heavy lifting to get that overall index up. You know, this slide sums it up perfectly. It was a real tale of 2 halves, as they say. You had 4 sectors up and 4 sectors down, a perfect 4-4 split. And that explains why the overall growth number was positive, but still pretty modest. All right, so we've seen the good news. Now let's flip the coin and look at the sectors that were feeling the pressure in November. So here are the numbers for the industries that contracted. You can see crude oil took the biggest hit, down 3.2%, followed by natural gas and electricity. Even refinery products saw a small dip in production. Okay, and this is a really, really important point. Remember that donut chart we looked at? The 2 absolute heavyweights in this index, refinery products and electricity, both shrank. Their decline put a serious brake on the overall growth. Without that, the headline number would have been much, much higher. So what does this all mean? We've got this tug of war happening, right? Construction-related sectors are booming, but the energy sectors are lagging. So what's the big picture here? If there's one number you take away from all this, I want it to be this one, 40.27%. This is why we watch this report so closely every single month. So what is that number? Well, that's how much these 8 core industries weigh in the overall Index of Industrial Production, the IIP. Basically, this ICI report is like a sneak peek, a preview of the health of the entire industrial economy. That's why it's such a big deal. So let's zoom out for a second. November's growth was 1.8%, right? But if you look at the whole fiscal year so far, from April to November, we're actually up 2.4%. So despite the monthly ups and downs, the bigger trend is still pointing towards modest growth. And this table really drives that point home. Over the past 8 months, look at steel and cement. They've been absolute powerhouses, posting fantastic growth. Meanwhile, you see the energy sectors like natural gas and coal are still playing catch-up from last year. So this all leaves us with a really interesting question, doesn't it? You've got this clear split. Construction and infrastructure seem to be firing on all cylinders, while the energy sector is facing some headwinds. So where does the economy go from here? Which one of these forces is going to win out in the coming months? Well, we won't have to wait too long to find out. The next set of numbers for December will be out toward the end of next month. Thanks so much for tuning into this breakdown, and we'll catch you on the next one.